is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? They come across quite culturally loserish. Sorry.
Am I culturally loserish? I have a boyfriend.
Dude.
I don't post him very much.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Life Uncut. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Keeshia.
And Keeshia is still filling in for the wonderful Laura, who is still... I say still. She will have a baby for a very long time. The baby's not going anywhere. So
she's still a mother of three.
She's still on 70, what would we say, 75% maternity leave? 75%?
Yeah. I don't know.
She pops in when she feels like it. She does an episode a week. Yeah.
Was that a deliberate pun? Pops in?
Oh, yeah.
Pops in with Poppy?
She pops in with Popstar. Hey, my Roman Empire this week, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So if you guys listened to the episode that just came out a couple of days ago, we just stumbled across this fact that, well, it's not a fact, but we started to talk about the fact that Ben, my husband, has like this huge Russell Crowe tattoo on his thigh. And that wasn't a planned conversation of the podcast, but we went there. And it got me thinking a lot. Keeshia was sort of like, where's the obsession from? Like, why does he love Gladiator so much? And I didn't really know. And I've been really trying to think about it and unpack it. We got a lot of questions coming in as well from you guys, just being like, seems like a weird obsession for a giant tattoo. So I decided to ask Ben. Now, I only just decided to ask him like 15 minutes ago. I just thought I'll call him and just see, without giving him any time to prep or think about it, and just see where this obsession comes from, because he's watched it maybe like, it's got to be 30, 40, 50 times or something. Like, it's something ludicrous.
I've never seen it.
Not even one. Oh my God, don't let Ben hear you say that.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised when I saw, because I think when you told me about the tattoo, I pictured something. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that is a lot more elaborate and a lot larger than what I was picturing in my head. It's actually like he's a big boy. He's got big legs.
Because he's all
long.
legs and he's all leg.
Yeah, and it actually takes up the large majority of one entire thigh.
I'm going to ask him for a photo and if I'm allowed to post it. Surely he won't care. So anyway, I wanted to get to the bottom of what it actually was, where this deep obsession came from, and why he could watch the same thing over and over again. And I say that, I don't know about you, Keish. If I watch something, I find it hard to watch something twice. Like anything, a TV series, a movie, whatever. Even if it was a movie, one of my favorite movies from when I was a teenager, for me, I'm not a repeat watcher, because I find it like, oh, I know what's happening, and I know the plot, I know the ending. I'm not into it.
I'm the complete opposite, because I go to sleep watching TV. I know everyone says it's not good, and I know that I'm the one obsessed with sleep, but I go to sleep watching TV, but it specifically has to be something that I've seen before. Otherwise, I feel like I'm trying to stay awake so that I can work out what's happening. So I watch the same thing.
But you watch it to go
over and over and over and over.
Yeah, but you watch it to go to sleep.
Yeah, even sometimes when I just like want to have dinner or something, like anything in the background, I will put on something that I've seen before. I think it's because like I know that I enjoy it. I know that I don't have to pay complete attention to it. Like maybe that's what it is actually, that I can kind of like scroll and get away with it. But
Yeah.
I'm a repeat watcher. There's something comforting about it. There's something that just makes me like know what I'm in for.
It's so weird to me. Let's poll it. It's so weird to me that there are people out there that are happy to just like watch something that many times when you know the dialogue, you know the plot, you know the intricacies of it. But having said that, I get it. I get maybe twice, maybe 3 times. I don't get Gladiator like 40 times.
I can't comment because I haven't seen it. So
you need to watch it.
I always watch TV shows over and over again. I don't watch movies over and over again. That feels like different to me.
The only show I've ever been able to watch on repeat is Friends, ever. And that's because nothing will ever compare. Like it will always be funny, and because there's so many seasons, you'll always go back and like see something or hear something that you missed the first time.
Yeah, the one thing I can't stand about shows that were recorded back then though is that they have that canned laughter built into it, which just feels very awkward now. Like if you watch TV
From the cast, you mean? Or
like
from...
no, when they were making the TV show, it's for a lot of shows that were made in like the 90s and early 2000s, they have laughter that they have put in from either like a studio audience or they've kind of put it in post, which feels even more strange.
Well, Friends was always in front of a live audience, which is amazing. So Friends' laughter is organic and real.
But I reckon that they definitely would have like, because they would have had to do multiple takes. You need different angles. You need to
Keeshia, don't speak like that about Friends.
Like I just mean, I think they would have had like laughter tracks that they would have just superimposed into the actual audio of the show, which just feels so cringe to me now.
That's what I'd do if I made a comedy. I'd be like, laugh.
Yeah. To me, it's like I feel as though I'm being instructed on when to laugh, and I'm like, I just want to laugh when I actually want to laugh.
But laughter makes you laugh. It's probably really smart because when you hear an audience laugh, it must subconsciously do something to you as well. That's like, oh, that's funny. Laugh.
Yeah, I just wonder what it is about Gladiator that does something subconsciously for Ben, because to be honest, I was not expecting this to be his response as to why he enjoys it so much.
I just love him so much. I'm constantly learning things about him, and his answer really surprised me. Have a listen. What is it about Gladiator that you're so obsessed with? Like, why do you watch it over and over in your spare time? Why do you have it tattooed on your leg near your willy? Why?
Well, first of all, he stands for something. He stands for honor. He's obviously been wrong done, but he stands for the greater things. So he's not just fighting for his life. He's standing in for what he believes in. Obviously, in the movie, he was picked to be the next Caesar, and then his half-wit brother gets it. So he's not avenging his brother. He's avenging for the greater good of Rome. That's, he's fighting for the greater good of Rome, and he does it with honor and integrity.
Okay.
And yeah, so obviously that's one of the things.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing, the mask is really cool.
Oh, the mask.
Sort of yeah, like if you're a gladiator, they were obviously there to entertain the people of Rome, but you're a fighter. It's survival, life or death. I can see you laughing.
At least 10 stages deeper than what I was anticipating.
Sorry, that was so deep, and he didn't blink. He did not blink. He just went straight into launching about the integrity and just not what I was expecting. I just thought he'd be like the fighting or like a real manly response.
I was wondering if it was like he's an athlete, there's like athleticism to it. I don't know. I really wasn't expecting it to be this like moral deep. That's why I've watched it 50 times. It reminds me of a greater good.
Now that he said, oh, sorry. Before I get into that deeper part, the masks, it went from like being really deep and moral and all this integrity-based answer to just like, oh, and then he has a cool mask. I think that was a very polarizing answer. But to go back and break it down, now that I think about it, Ben does pride himself on having integrity. Like that's the kind of person that he is. That's the person he is with his sporting teams. It's the person he is with me. It's the person he is with his friends. So like the answer, I guess, makes sense when I think about it, but I just didn't expect him to be so obsessed with it because this warrior was fighting for the greater good. I just thought it was hilarious.
Have I ever told you that the very first time I saw the Colosseum was on a walk of shame?
You have, but please tell everybody again.
So I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast. Sorry if I have. I've got a bit of brain fog. We'll get into that a little bit later. But the very first time I went to Italy, I would have been like 18 years old, and I went over there with two of my girlfriends who were a tiny bit older than me. And of that group, I was the quiet one, which would have you absolutely shooketh to the core.
That is a wild group if you're the quiet one.
We touched down in Rome, and for some reason we went on some like pub crawl that night, as in it was like an organized group. I don't know who had found this pub crawl. I know it wasn't me, but the next thing I know is that we were along with like a group of about 40 people going through Rome, drinking at different bars. And we met these guys that were from the UK, and they were really nice and really sweet. And I had really gotten on with one of them, obviously. And the night had progressed, and I just remember it coming to the point where like the sun was coming up. I have no idea what time it was, but I remember kind of saying like, oh, we've got a big day of touristy things planned. And so I got my shoes and I got my bag from the night before, and I was walking back to our hotel, and I was like following the dot on Google Maps or Apple Maps, I can't remember. And I looked up, and right there to my right-hand side was the Colosseum. And I was like, holy shit, like, look at it. It's right. It's amazing. Look at it. It's right there.
What a moment to have you just conquered this man, and now you're in the Colosseum.
I conquered Rome.
Where you've conquered Rome. What a beautiful interception of real life. Do you know what too? You probably saw it at the best time you could. Like no people,
tourists.
sunrise. She pulls out your SLR camera that you did for your photo shoot the night before.
Starts taking selfies, sends it to mum. Mum, look at where I am.
That's so funny. You made me just think of all the times that I've just hooked up with people traveling. Do you keep them on, like, were you at that time where you added everyone that you met traveling on Facebook
Yeah.
or Instagram and then like years later someone pops up on your feed and you're like, who is that person?
100%.
Like, why do we do that?
I think because it was the thing that was done at the time. It also feels like if you're sharing a different part of you, you can probably share a Facebook page.
Your Instagram handle.
Yeah, but every now and then they will pop up and I'll be like, where on earth do I know that person from? Especially
You're
for
like,
ones
oh,
that you,
banged him in Mexico.
especially ones you didn't hook up with. You know, the people that you met traveling, especially if you were on like a tour group. I felt like I went on a couple like Top Decks and Kentikis when I was in my like teens and early 20s. And there'll be people that you just feel like you got so close to and you just thought you were going to be friends forever because you shared the most amazing 3 weeks or 5 weeks.
Most amazing night in the Colosseum.
The most amazing walk of shame. And then you often will never see or think about them ever again in life. And every now and then something will come up on Facebook and I'll be like, who on earth is that? Like, oh my God, that's that girl that I was like hanging out with in Italy for 2 weeks back in 2016.
There was some wild story that I have not thought about until now. When Sherry and I were traveling around, because we did this like big 3-year around the world trip, and we started in South America and went 6 or 8 months through South America, up through Central America, and we did it all. And we met this girl in Colombia. This blonde, beautiful girl, very young, really into partying. Sherry and I never did drugs or anything. Like, we would drink, but we've never been into drugs in our entire life. But she was. She sort of went and partied. We don't care. Like everyone in Colombia. It's like literally when in Rome. Like, sorry, it's the home of cocaine. So anyway, I remember her and I can still bring her face up. And mind you, this is 13 years ago. Anyway, we were Facebook friends. Never saw her again. We spent like a week at a hostel together. And then something popped up on the Facebook like 8 years or something later. And she apparently got arrested for like trying to get coke out of the country. Like proper, like.
Wait, is this Cocaine Cassie?
Yeah, spoiler.
No, there was another one.
Yeah, not Cocaine Cassie. Yeah, I just saw it pop up and I was like, oh my God, I don't need to be friends with you. So I unfriended her because I was like, who is that girl? Why
You
is she-
unfriended after that? I would find that so intriguing that there is no way in hell I would be able to unfriend that person.
Do you want to be friends with some drug smuggler?
It doesn't mean that you're friends with them, but I'm definitely interested in what happens next.
Sorry, I have a very niche Facebook friend list. So yeah, if you've made it into my friend list, it's exclusive.
an honor.
And it means that we're tight.
And
So
if
I
I ever
can't be
become a
tight with
criminal?
I can't be tight with a criminal.
That is so funny. No way, there is no part of me that would be able to unfriend that. I just find that stuff so interesting.
You don't unfriend everyone. You're friends with every boyfriend. You're friends with everyone you've made out with since you're about 12.
Yeah, it's true.
Like everyone.
It's just my world tour. That's how I remember my traveling experiences. I know for certain I wouldn't be the only person like this. So if you have discovered one of the natural or non-natural wonders of the world on a walk of shame, I would love to know about it. I know that this is a very niche call out, but I feel as though there only has to be one really good story of what you got to discover because you hooked up with someone and you were trying to find your way back home. Have you ever ran into one of your travel hookups in your normal life? Because I ran into one last year.
No way.
Yeah, it would have to be a year ago. It was in the Sunshine Coast. Neither of us are from the Sunshine Coast. We'd hooked up in 2016 in Greece. I had never seen him again. We'd spoken a little bit afterwards, but it wasn't like it was something that we were going to continue on. And then I was up in the Sunshine Coast with my now partner. I was just like ordering lunch and I turned to my side and I was like, hello, how are you?
Did he remember you?
Yeah, we like had a nice catch up and he's married and
Had
he's
sex
like,
quickly, just caught up over
It was one of those awkward things where because we were both there with partners, I was like, I don't know how much of this story to tell. Like, I don't know how to be like, because you have to give context to your partner, right? But you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But also, I don't think it would make him that uncomfortable to be like, oh, you know, we hooked up literally 10 years ago when I was traveling.
I have never run into anyone, but I have never, you guys know I was never into Aussies. Like I was never into an Aussie. But I did catch up with an ex. I remember, a lot of you OGs might remember, I spoke about this guy that I dated for a while when I was living in London. Everything was going really well until I discovered that his families were billionaires. Remember that guy?
No.
Yeah, don't you remember? So he was this really nice guy. He took me to the tennis on a date. We're only a few weeks deep and we had been spending a lot of time together, but I didn't even know his last name, right? Like you're dating you go on 3 or 4 dates a week, but we were just enjoying the process. So I didn't Google him. I didn't have him on anything. And I remember we went to a tennis grand final and he's like, I'm going to put a bet on. And I was like, oh, cool. This could be fun. I'll put a bet on the other person. And like whoever wins, you know, pays the other bet. I remember him saying, no, it's fine. I'm going to put like 150 on. And I was like, done, 150 each. The other person uses that money to pay for dinner. And I thought he meant $150. He put $150,000 on.
What?
Yeah, he was like, no, Britt, no, like he was not bragging or he was this is why I didn't know he had money, right? But he never worked, so it does check out. He didn't have a job. He just said, I do some stuff online. I thought he was just a banker or something.
I know, just a banker.
Well, because he
just didn't have a job. I thought he was a criminal, but I didn't want to ask questions after the girl from Colombia ended up going to jail.
No, because, you know, I mean, it was in London. He was European and he just said he worked online and he traded, and I don't know that world, right? I was like a hospital worker. So I thought, oh, cool. He's some banker that trades and just that's how he makes his money.
The stereotype of women not understanding finance is so funny.
Well, no, because apparently
I would have been the same. I would have been like, numbers, what?
Apparently he was a trader or is a trader as well.
Yeah, he's a gambler.
No, because his parents were really big in bank. Okay, this is
his parents owned the bank.
His parents, yeah, Elon Musk. And I remember that moment, I was like, okay, and something in me switched because I was like, oh, this guy has proper money. And as someone that didn't grow up with money, you'd think that would have been attractive, but it made me really weird and uncomfortable. And then I went home and I found out who he was. I looked at I'll never forget, I looked on his, I just didn't go break into his computer, but his computer was open and he ordered like an Uber Eats delivery or something on there and it had his full name on there. So I just clocked his last name.
Wait, what do you mean you were dating someone that you didn't know the name?
No, I didn't know his last name. I just knew his name. I was trying to be that person that's like free and like not like, I didn't want to stalk him online. I was like, let's just embrace it. This guy's great. He's treating me well. We're getting along. Like, I don't need to go and stalk him.
He's buying me designer things and taking me on super yachts. There's no questions to ask.
Anyway, I did this deep dive and found out that his family were like billionaires in the country that they lived in. I don't want to say whatever. Anyway, and it just made me fucking weird. I got weird and I couldn't handle it. And I started to be weird because I was like, why is he dating me? I'm not good enough for him. I looked at his exes who were all like these insane models and it didn't work out. We ended up breaking up. But I caught up with him a couple of years later in Bondi. He was like, I'm coming, not to hook up or anything. He's like, hey, I'm coming to Sydney. I'll be in Bondi. Like literally, he knew I lived there, I guess. And so we caught up and it was really nice. But we definitely didn't catch up to hook up. He was with like, he married a supermodel or something. And I was like, that's why this was never going to work out, because you married a supermodel. But that's the only person ever that I have ever seen again from my past. Like I am a real, you're done to me.
Yeah, same.
Fucking you invite them over for dinner.
Same. I haven't invited them to Christmas if they've got nowhere else to go.
They're all coming to your wedding. Keeshia, I don't know if you need to cut that whole thing out. That was not planned, but I don't know if you guys are remotely interested in walks down memory lane, but sometimes those memories come to us. And
well, look, also, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask right now because I got 2 pieces of feedback about last week's episode and I'm here to say that the feedback has been taken on board. There was one comment on Spotify that said this bin story is beyond boring. For which I say, I'm sorry. I've taken your feedback on board and I'll just go and fuck myself. Okay. The truth is that day I really fell off a cliff. Okay. I haven't been well. And the bigger issue
is so boring.
Beyond boring was the words. And the funniest thing about it is that not only did I kind of fall off of a cliff that afternoon, I think I might have actually gotten the flu or potentially even COVID last week, but I spent 4 to 5 days that were the sickest I have been since I can remember. Like since being an adult, I think that was the worst I've ever been. And the problem is that I wasn't as bad when we recorded the episode. It was actually when I was doing the edit, because usually I would hope, every now and then I will miss the mark, but usually I would hope that I have the kind of capacity to evaluate something and be like, this is going on a bit long, this is a bit boring, maybe I should just cut this whole thing out.
You just left the whole bin story.
There was a bit of me that was like, do I just cut this entire story? Like I have no idea if this is relatable. I don't know if anyone gives a shit about this. And the thought did cross my mind. But I was so unwell that I let it go through to the keeper. And I am now reflecting and thinking, yeah, that was probably one that should have been on the cutting room floor.
It was, look, sometimes it's a balancing act. Is it relatable enough to be kept in? Because sometimes we ask ourselves after, and you did, I will take responsibility for that. After it, you were like,
Do you think anyone cares?
do you think anyone cares?
But I will stop talking about it. And, I just want to apologize. I did spend a couple of days last week on my deathbed. And just one last thing, we spoke about how I've had this cough for so long. And we got a lot of messages. And I just wanted to clarify something very briefly, because I do understand that the way it came out in last week's episode did make us look a little bit irresponsible. But I actually have had this cough for so long that a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, Poppy, you've been around Poppy. I've had it for so long that my infectious period was over about 3 weeks before Poppy was born.
Yeah,
So-
it's almost just an irritation.
Yes, yeah. But now that I've become sick again, I'm going to keep my distance for a couple of weeks until until we're back to normal, back to healthy grounds.
I've never seen you look worse in your life. To be
Thank
honest.
you.
You know that's a real friendship, hey? You sent me a selfie and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, are you
You're
dressed up for Halloween?
Yeah, no, I wasn't well. Also, the strangest thing about this is that I feel as though I've had... Remember around COVID time and everyone was talking about brain fog? Actually can't believe how much I've had it. Yesterday, I accidentally brushed my teeth with soap. And it wasn't like I was like, oh, whoopsie daisies. I had it in my mouth and I was like, what the fuck is that flavor? What's going on? And I realized that instead of putting, because it's right next to each other, right? Instead of putting the toothpaste on my toothbrush, I had put soap on there. And I was just doing all of these really stupid things. I went to take Bonnie for a walk and she's a puppy. I have to put her on the lead before we go out the gate. I just opened the gate and she just walked out. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing? I keep on doing these really stupid things not taking my keys to the car. Yeah, I've lost the plot.
The other thing that I will just say quickly, because it might affect you, something else that Keeshia did because of brain fog, it wasn't just left at the bitten story. We're constantly having to approve people and let them in the Facebook group, and there were 50 requests to let you into our discussion group, and Keeshia declined you all.
Just for clarity, I'm sorry, there's a couple hundred a day. We're getting through this phase where we were getting a lot of bots in the Facebook group, and it was really annoying, and everyone was having to report them, and I had to remove them all individually. So we started putting a question that you have to answer to enter the group. And it's a good way to try and weed out the bots, because the answers that the bots give are really long and they're really detailed. And a lot of the time they'll have American spelling. So that's a bit of a clue to me. I accidentally declined all of them.
Yeah.
Rather than going through and individually, I just clicked the button and I was on the phone to Britt and I was like, oh, whoopsie.
So there's 50 of you, and we're very sorry. We didn't actually decline
At least
you.
50. I don't know if there was more. I think that particular page had 50 people.
Keeshia probably told me 50 because I'm a boss. She was probably like, oh my gosh, there's only 2 people.
Whoopsies, 500.
So please, if you did request to join the group and we declined you, we didn't mean to decline you, please request again and we'll let you in, we promise. Today we wanted to talk about an article that is circulating online. It was an article that was published on Vogue, and it is called, Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? It's been written by a woman called Shantae Joseph. Now, the article opens with, if somebody so much as says, my boyf on social media, they are muted. There is nothing I hate more than following someone for fun, only for their content to become my boyfriendified. This is probably because for so long, it felt like we were living in what one of my favorite Substackers calls boyfriend land, a world where women's online identities centered around the lives of their partners, a situation rarely seen reversed. Women were rewarded for their ability to find and keep a man with elevated social status and praise. It became even more suffocating when this could be leveraged on social media for engagement and, if you were serious enough, financial gain. Now, the piece goes on to argue that many straight women today having a boyfriend no longer carries the same status that it once did. They're trying to say that it used to be a real flex to be like, yo, I got a boyfriend, and then live your couple goals life. That is what everybody used to do, and everybody used to be really happy for it. And people used to be really engaged with that kind of content, but it's not happening now. It went into saying that rather than being this milestone or achievement of oh, I'm no longer single, I've broken that curse and I'm happy and I'm in love, that now it should be something that we shouldn't be proud of, and it shouldn't be something that we're aiming towards having, and it shouldn't be a goal that is something that we're putting on our checklist. We shouldn't be saying, hey, I really want a partner, I'm looking for a partner. We should be embracing our independence and our singledom. It goes on to say that now the norms have shifted. There are fewer hard launch posts of romantic partners. There's this trend of the soft launch, like the more subtle images of, you know, when you see a hand on a steering wheel, it's usually a Bentley or a Mercedes or something, like no one's putting it on their little Astra.
All of that I understand. And I understand that we've had like a shift in the societal norms. But the piece even went on to say that they interviewed women for this who said that they lost followers after they posted about having a boyfriend.
I can see where that comes from, but I think that's a very niche market. And I do have some problems with the article as a whole, which we're going to get into. I think the people that are losing followers have based their content around being single. And I remember I sort of felt similarly, like I was really worried when I got into my relationship with Jordan because it was the first relationship I got into after a very, very, very long time, single, dating, being really unlucky in love.
And you'd kind of waved that flag on the podcast as well. Like Laura was the one who was partnered up. You
Yeah.
were the one who was kind of having the single experiences.
Unintentionally, it became my identity. I didn't set out for it to be, but all of a sudden it did. And I feel like without knowing that snowballed and I became the person, and because the podcast platform was so big, I became the person that was having the terrible dates and the really bad dating stories. And I did desperately want to find my person and be in love, but I was still happy being single at the same time. And there's a difference between wanting to find someone and finding them. So even though I was saying, oh, I wish I could find my person, I fucking wasn't. I was still being ghosted and I was, you know, like having all these ridiculous stories. And I remember saying to you guys, what am I going to do? I think I'm in a relationship. Like how, like people are not going to want to listen to me, the podcast anymore. People are not going to follow me. Like they only follow me. And I really felt like I had unintentionally built this life and this identity on being this unlucky in love person. And I think the women that have been interviewed saying that they lost followers after that, I don't think they're the everyday people whose friends are like, oh, I don't want to be friends with you now. I think that they're bigger people that maybe have been flying that flag for a long time. And then all of a sudden the people that their community is like, well, you made me feel less alone. It's the people that are not really happy with their relationship status, I would think, that are unfollowing people that have found a boyfriend.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the sense of like, I no longer relate to you.
Yeah.
Or if it's actually that, you know, some people when they do have certain life things, this can be the case for not just a boyfriend, but like having a baby or whatever, their entire brand online shifts to the point where you're like, well, that's not why I followed you. You know, like it would be the equivalent of me following someone for home renovations and then all of a sudden they're posting stuff about travel.
Yes.
And I'd be like, well, that's not why I followed you. So maybe it's time for me to unfollow because like I'm not enjoying this content in a way that I used to. So like that aspect of it, I actually understand and I think I actually agree with it. But the article kind of went on to almost like in a way it almost put shame on people who were posting photos or videos or content about the fact that they had found a partner and that they were going to share that partner, specifically a boyfriend. And this was specifically for straight relationships. And the fact that it kind of like reduced their aura and it reduced their independence and it almost made out as though it was something that you should really keep to yourself.
The more I read it, the more angry I got. I want to read you this one line. To me, it feels like the result of women wanting to straddle two worlds, one where they can receive the social benefit of having a partner, but also not appear so boyfriend obsessed that they come across quite culturally loserish. Sorry.
Am I culturally loserish? I have a boyfriend.
Dude.
I don't post him very much.
No, but this is where I started to get a little bit ticked off about it. I'm just sick of, and I've said it about other things, I'm sick of there having to be a label for everything, and now posting your partner because you're happy makes you a loser culturally, to me, is really fucked. And I think it's creating a really big issue. We have to think about every single thing we do in life already. And I can guarantee you this is only directed at women. This is not men. If a man posts a girlfriend, it's like, oh, look how emotionally in touch he is. Look how much he loves his partner. The fact that we're just lumping this other worry and stress onto women, it's like, oh my God, now I'm so happy and I found a boyfriend. But what if I post him? Am I going to get cancelled? Am I going to lose followers? Am I a loser? Are people going to look down on me? Does that mean I'm not independent? Is it the patriarchy? Like, there are so many other things that we need to worry about. The fact that Vogue is writing an article saying, hey, you got a boyfriend, be careful out there. Like, fuck off. That's what I want to say. If you
Tell me how you really feel for it.
But it's amazing to me that we are now lumping this onto women again for something else you need to think about, stress about, and worry about. I want to set the record straight here right now. I'm pretty up there on par with Vogue. But if you are in love and happy, do what you want. You don't have to conform to what anyone says is right or wrong or cool or uncool. Like nothing. I hate people labeling cool and uncool. Being cool to me is just being authentically you. It doesn't matter what that looks like. As long as you're not hurting anybody and you're not completely toxic. If you want to post your partner and people unfollow you, you don't want those people in your life anyway. If I go onto the other side here, like the devil's advocate, I understand maybe a deeper issue where Vogue is coming from by saying women are not wanting to post as much anymore. But I think that's because they're not wanting to be in relationships as much anymore. And I don't think that is coming down to it being uncool. I think it's coming down to the fact that we don't have to be. You know, we live in a different society now where we are far more independent. But women don't need to settle anymore. So when they go and try and find their partner and they're out there in the dating world, there used to be a time where we would say, oh, there are so many things that are not right. But it's like probably the best of what I'm going to get. So I'm going to settle for it. And we don't do that anymore. We don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, I can see your point. There was this part of the article that I actually somewhat agreed with, and I'm just going to read this paragraph for you. It says, obviously there's no shame in falling in love, but there's also no shame in trying and failing to find it or not trying at all. As long as we're openly rethinking and criticizing heteronormativity, having a boyfriend will remain a somewhat fragile or even contentious concept within public life. This is also happening alongside a wave of women reclaiming and romanticizing their single life. Where being single was once a cautionary tale, you'll end up a spinster with loads of cats, it is now becoming a desirable and coveted status. Another nail in the coffin of centuries-old heterosexual fairy tale that never really benefited women to begin with. Now, this part is where I do actually quite agree. I feel like if you look back maybe even like 3 to 5 years ago, there just wasn't as much content that represented a comfortable and happy single woman life. I think we're seeing a lot more of that. But I don't like the fact that this author is almost implying that the only way to actually have that content and have it feel authentic is to say that it's lame to have the other version, you know, to say that it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend because that is no longer a symbol of status or a symbol of success.
Well, yeah, and I think it goes a little bit further in saying being single is a symbol of independence and that you can only be independent if you are out there living your best life on your own. And I think that that is absolutely rubbish. You can 100% be in a relationship and have interdependence. And I think it's really important. I think every relationship should have interdependence instead of just being in this codependent relationship. I'm a prime example of that. Married, in love, obsessed, completely live my own life, and my husband lives his own life, and then we have a part of our lives that we live together. I'm loud and proud about my relationship and my love, you know, and I don't think that that makes me a loser, but it's also not my identity in my whole life. Like I have probably more of a life outside of Ben than I have with him. And I think that that is the slippery slope we're falling into where now it's just too labeled and categorized that like, oh, you're in a relationship, so you don't get to make choices on your own anymore and you don't get to have any independence and like that's not cool anymore. We have this ability to break down the patriarchy and live our best life, so we shouldn't be getting married and we shouldn't be in relationships. But that's rubbish. We're still humans that want to have these connections with people.
Yeah, I do think that they have a point that the idea of like being in a relationship, and I would even extend that as far as being married, was a symbol of success. You know, it was a symbol of the fact that you have achieved this thing that you're supposed to achieve in your lifetime. And it does make me wonder now if we're taking that off the table, I feel as though we've also taken off the whole girl boss era symbol of success online. Like it makes me wonder what are the symbols that these people are looking for to indicate that someone would be proud of something that they've achieved in life.
That's my entire point of breaking down this article is that just be authentically happy. If you want to be a girl boss, be a girl boss. If you want to be happy in love, do it. If you want to never date again and travel the world, do it. As long as you're doing it because you want to, not because society, i.e. Vogue, has told you that it's not cool to be in a relationship and post your partner anymore. But it is interesting when you dive a little bit deeper. Like we are at an all-time low. The stats in Australia say that marriage here has never been lower. We 100% are steering away from not necessarily relationships, but definitely the extra commitment of tying the knot legally. And I do think it's interesting because Keish, you don't really care much about marriage. Like you've been with Toblerone for a couple of years and it's, it's not something we've ever really spoken about on here a lot, but you don't really care about locking it down, do you?
Yeah, no, this is something that I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned it on the podcast. I probably have mentioned it in like Ask Uncuts in passing and that kind of thing. And I think I've been a little bit hesitant because I've never wanted someone listening to it to think that I was judging their choice, which is kind of ironic based off of this article. Like, I've never wanted anyone who has either chosen to get married or has the dream of getting married to feel as though I was shitting on them. But the truth is that I have never in my entire life felt the desire to either get married or be married. And I've been in my relationship for 2.5 years now. And while we've been together, we have had a lot of friends get engaged and we've been to quite a few weddings together as like a couple. And so every time that someone else gets engaged or we go to another wedding, I feel as though we kind of do this check-in with each other where we're just like, I'm just checking, are you still feeling the same about the whole marriage conversation? Like, and we've had the conversation where we've both said, if it was really important to you, I would do it. But it's not important to me. And every now and then I just kind of check that we're still on that same page. And so far we have been. And there has been like a real part of me that has wondered why that might be the case. There's an aspect of the planning of it that I feel like quite genuinely like I would be allergic to. I just don't have a brain that's very good like that.
I feel you in that. I can give you my planner if it ever happens.
like the idea of having to care about details that I just simply don't care about. I have ADHD, but I am a headlines person. I don't care about floral arrangements. I don't care about table settings. I'm just not a person who cares about details like that. And again, I don't want people to listen to that and think that I'm judging you for caring. I think it's lovely that you care about those things. I have friends who love that kind of thing. They're really excited about making their wedding day as picture perfect as they have always dreamt about it. That's the thing that I find quite strange. I cannot remember a time that I have ever dreamt about what my wedding dress would look like, what our aisle song would be, what our first dance song would be. Like, there has never been a moment that I have, even like thinking back to childhood, that I can go, oh, I wonder if I'll have this at my wedding. I just genuinely have not ever wanted to have it. And maybe it's like people will say like, oh, you're a child of divorce. It's because you've seen divorce and you've seen the relationships break down. But my parents didn't get divorced until I was like 15. So thinking back and knowing that I've never thought about it even as a kid makes me question whether that maybe isn't a part of the conversation.
Well, interestingly, my parents, most of you guys know, they've been married nearly 50 years. I think it's like 48 or 49 years. And I had like a very stable, wholesome upbringing. And I also never thought about my wedding. I never was one of those people either. I didn't have anything saved. I didn't have these mood boards. I didn't know anything. I picked the song that was going to be playing down the aisle for my bridesmaids 2 hours before they walked down. It's not something that ever consumed me. I didn't know what kind of dress I wanted. I didn't know anything. And that is interesting because I always wanted the relationship and the love. I think because my parents had it, but the wedding didn't mean anything to me. I always wanted to get engaged and I couldn't wait for that. But I think that was more just that taking the next step with a partner being like, we're going to do this. But I do wonder if Ben was Australian, if we would have actually ever gotten married or just stayed engaged, because for us, it's really important for him to be able to live here easily one day that we are married. That's a huge part of why we did it. Obviously, a huge part is that we love each other and are obsessed with each other. But it also, as a kid, I didn't have that same desire. I don't know what it was. And planning for me, oh my God, like Keeshia, worse. Like even my wedding planner was like, you need to make the decision. I can't plan it without it. And I said, please. If I could turn up to a wedding that someone else had planned for me, I would be happy. Like I don't need the details either. Yeah. But I don't think it's because your parents were divorced. I think it's maybe just a product of who you are. Like you're quite independent.
Yeah, it could be that. And I know that a lot of people listening to this will be like, you're focusing on the wedding day, not the marriage. Yes. And so there has been a part of me that's like, is it the wedding day that puts me off? Do I still want to be married? And I've thought about like maybe we could elope and all of those things. And genuinely, I actually am trying to work this out within myself and be, some people say it feels different. You feel more committed to each other. Even my brother says that, where I've been like, does it feel any different? Like I feel as though I'm making a choice. We're loyal to each other. Like I kind of like the fact that we're not legally bound. I like the fact that it feels more like
She's like, I like that I can run if I need to.
well, like maybe there is a part of me that is actually a little bit. I'm trying to push away from the idea of a commitment like that. That being said, that also doesn't make sense to me because we have a house and a dog now. So
That's different to a wedding, though. It's different to a marriage.
yeah, but for some reason, those things feel more solidifying to me. Like the idea
Yeah.
of being married just doesn't cross my mind. And so like reading through this article of like, oh, it's embarrassing to have a boyfriend. I'm like, lol, I'm probably going to be embarrassing for the rest of my life then because I've just never had this feeling that I wanted to become a married person. And there has been moments where I've questioned like, am I missing this gene? Like, am I missing this? It seems to be something that every woman is supposed to desire and is supposed to want the security of and like the stability of it. And maybe there's a part of me that feels really lucky. I feel those things without needing to be married, but I feel completely indifferent to the idea of being married.
But you like the idea of getting engaged?
I like the idea of having an
Diamond.
engagement ring. I like but again, and I know that this sounds so superficial, I think it's just the jewelry. I just like jewelry. I think I like the idea of having a cool ring. Like, I don't know if it's the symbolism that it's supposed to feel for me.
How does Toblerone feel?
He feels pretty much the same, or at least he says he does. Like I said, we kind of check in with each other over and over again, and he just says like it's not important to me. I don't feel any more in a relationship with you. I don't feel any more committed. And I don't know. I'm not sure. There's part of me that's been like, maybe this is my way of pushing back on the patriarchy. Like marriage has been something that is socially constructed and it was fucked for women up until probably about 50 years ago. I would like to think that I was that moral, but it's truly that I just don't have the feeling of ever desiring to be married.
I totally understand that. And I think a lot of people will relate to what you said. Again, circling back, we are at the lowest marriage rates we've ever been in Australia. But what I will say is, and I didn't expect it, but it did feel different to me. And I was getting married. Like I said, I love Ben. I want to spend my life with him, but I could have just been engaged to him also for the rest of my life. Like for us, it's the same commitment, right? We know that we were committed to each other. Did I also want a very big diamond ring? Yeah, I did. But I was really surprised, even though it shouldn't and it doesn't make sense, something switched in the relationship and something switched in us. I don't know. It's really hard to explain because technically nothing happens, right? Technically you've signed a piece of paper, but there's something deeper in it where you say, oh, I am choosing you, you're choosing me, and we are going to make this work through highs and lows. And I don't know, it just felt like this change where it felt more serious and you felt like you were taking the relationship more seriously, which I know doesn't make sense because you should be taking it seriously anyway. I can't explain the feeling, but you hear a lot of people say the same thing and you can't put your finger on what it is.
Yeah, maybe it's that I like to feel freedom. I think I like the fact that we're not legally bound together and so every day it is a choice. And
but it doesn't make it like... It's interesting the words you're using as well because you're still just as free. You'll still always be your person that can make your own choices and it doesn't make you – I mean, I'm talking about you right now because some people are different. Some people become financially dependent in a relationship and I think that is tricky territory. Obviously, there is times it's unavoidable when you're having families and things like that. But I think for you, Keish, it's not like putting – a chain around your ankle when you get married and like you're locked inside anymore. You still have, your life is exactly the same. It's just a commitment. And I'm not saying that you have to get married or you don't, but it's interesting and maybe we need to do it with a therapist off the podcast. But it's interesting. It's interesting to unpack, like as you're unpacking it now live on the podcast, like I feel like you're discovering these thoughts and ideas as well.
I hadn't thought about the freedom thing before, but I guess the only reason we wanted to talk about this today is because I think that, again, the narratives of wanting the status symbol of being in a relationship, wanting the status symbol of being married, I do feel as though the tide is turning and there's an aspect of that I really like. I just don't like the fact that this author of this article has kind of implied that the only way to demystify those status symbols is to make them shameful. So that's what I don't like about the article. I feel as though they're saying like, oh, it's embarrassing if you post your partner. It's embarrassing if you're in a relationship now. And I'm like, well, yes, I understand we've had an oversaturation of the fact that unless you had these things, you were kind of pathetic. Like, unless you were able to reach the goals of having a boyfriend, having a marriage, all that kind of thing, you were less than. But I don't
Yeah.
think that we get to the point of like acceptance of other lifestyles and other choices by shaming the people who have done the things that we've traditionally viewed as success. Well, it is time for Suck and Sweet. Britt, hit me with your suck of the week.
My suck of the week, I'm supposed to be going to see Ben in like very soon, in like 10 days or something like that. And it's just a bit up in the air now because basically like heaps of people at his team got fired.
Shit.
Like coaches and managers and stuff. Very normal in football.
It also happens super quickly. That was something I learned from you guys that
Yeah.
I thought the media industry was cutthroat. It seems like sport is.
It is brutal. Yeah. If there's a couple of bad games, the staff just it's wild. Anyway,
Yeah.
so basically they had a couple of days off. I was going to fly over and it's just a bit up in the air. I don't know until a couple of days before. It'll be a really last minute decision and it might not happen because all these people got fired. It means new coaches and managers and bosses come in and then they might just be like, fucking fat chance you guys are having any days off. Like you know what I mean? Because they're new. You don't know what they're going to be. And the schedule was based off the old people. So it's just crazy. Like I'm a week out from supposed to be going over there. And now I've just got to sit and wait to see what happens. And do I book the flight? Do I cancel it? Do I change it? Do I put on pause? So that's pretty wild. But my sweet this week is I have this one friend that I've told you about sporadically over the years. She's the friend in London and she's the friend that just messages me when she's like an hour away without me knowing from London. And she'll be like, hey,
She's like touched down at Sydney International Airport and she's waiting for her bag.
Sometimes she messages me when she's in Singapore halfway and she'll be like, hey, I'll be there in like whatever that is, 10 hours. But sometimes she lands and she'll tell me she's coming. She knows that I if I'm not there, she knows I have like a lockbox with a key. She knows that she can come and stay. But she just messaged me on the weekend and she said, hey, you're going to be home tonight. I'll be there in a couple of hours. Like that's the kind of friendship we are. And so that was really nice and very unexpected. She dropped in from London. She was here for a couple of nights and then she left again yesterday. But it was as much as it's very lucky that I don't have a life. Like it's lucky that I don't do anything. I don't have hobbies. I don't like to go out that much and drink. So she's like, you're probably not going to be home. I was like, oh, I'm home.
Actually, I'm definitely home. And as long as you're willing to watch Netflix with me for the whole weekend, we're great.
So it was good.
I absolutely love the spontaneity that she has. I am a spontaneous girl myself, but even I am not that spontaneous. She just must back herself. Look, to be fair, it's pretty easy to book a hotel. If worse came to worse, she could book a hotel and I'm sure that she'd have a great time by herself in Sydney for the night, but I love it. I absolutely love that she's just so...
lives the best life.
By the, what is it? Something of your teeth or something?
No, that's the wrong saying. By the skin of your teeth.
My suck for the week is that, I mean, I don't want to, ramp on about being sick, but it was actually being sick with a 6-month-old Australian Shepherd puppy by myself. Because if there is a breed of dog that you don't want to be annoying you for the sake that it needs to go out and exercise for multiple hours a day, it's my little darling Bonnie. And it was so rough.
I did offer to come get her for 3 days.
Yes, but I didn't take you
said
up
no.
on it.
Yeah, but you said, I was like, I'll come get her.
I need her. I'm so emotional right now. I feel so alone.
Well, because I remember when I had COVID and had Delilah.
Yeah.
I could not, you can't look after them.
No, I remember you messaging me and being like, can you just come and get her for a couple of days? Like, you can't take them out for walks. And we had this wonderful dog walker, Grace. So she came and got her each of the days and she, she went out and she went for the runs. But my God, that dog is starting to develop some sass. And yeah, I feel like she's getting into those like teenage sassy years.
Doesn't get better.
She's talking back a lot. There's a lot of communication coming out of her. There's a lot of big feelings. But my sweet is that I have this one beautiful friend, Soph, and she came over a couple of days into me being sick, which I was like, don't come. I don't want to get you sick, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, it's fine. I've actually been sick myself. She brought me this like care package and it was just such a nice reminder that for a lot of last year, she lived by herself, and a lot of this year, actually, she lived by herself. And she was kind of talking to me about the fact that when you're sick and you live alone, there's this particular feeling of just feeling a little bit extra lonely and a little bit like it would just be so nice to have someone there to look after me.
And just so everyone knows at home, it's because Toblerone's away at the moment.
Yeah, he's away for work.
He's not just like locked her in the basement.
Actually, I decided I didn't want to get married and he left. That was a real sweet, and it was also a reminder for me that if I have friends who are in that position, whether it be that they live alone or that they're single, I probably need to step up that little bit more if they're feeling unwell and kind of be that friend for them. So yeah, that was my sweet of the week, and it was very, very kind of her.
That's it, guys. Make sure you send in your Ask Uncut, please, to Instagram. You can just put DMs, Ask Uncut. We'll keep you anonymous. And your accidentally unfiltered, your embarrassing stories, please send them in. We know you've got some goodies hidden in there. And the YouTube. YouTube's a big one. Every week we say at the start of the episode we're going to push the YouTube, but we always forget and we leave it to the end. Please go and hit subscribe on the YouTube. We've got some really cool interviews coming up in the next week or two that you're not going to want to miss.
They are with some very, very big guests. It's been a bit of a pinch me moment the last couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, one's pretty spicy.
That was the most obvious thing ever.
Is
I
it?
love it. But
one's hot. One's hot and spicy. Is that obvious?
Hot and spicy. They work for KFC.
It's the Colonel.
It's the Colonel himself. We're divulging the 11 secret herbs and spices, but you know the drill. Tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your dog, tell your friends, and share the love because we love love.